Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host Mike Lepre, here with my co-host Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, we're going to wrap up our three-part fantasy episode series here. We're going to wrap up with the outfielders. The previous weeks we talked about pitchers and catchers and the infielders, so we're going to obviously naturally move on to the outfield position. We're going to keep it all together, one basic outfield. We're not going to go left, center, right, because that's based on our fantasy league. It's just the outfield position. It's not, they don't segment it into specific positions. So we're just going to do a top 15 list. We're going to go back and forth. And so why don't you start us off, Frank, like we usually have been doing?
Yeah, so like you said, this week's going to be outfield. We don't really separate it because our leagues is all outfield. Start splitting it up in fantasy. It gets a little too complicated and stuff like that because guys play left, they play center, they have all eligibilities, and then, it's a big mess. So we just play, just outfield.
Yep.
So, yeah, like I said, we're going to do 15, so back and forth. But my list starts with the obvious choice of Mike Trout.
Yep.
I mean, there's not much going there. I mean, it's gonna take the first overall pick, or if you're lucky, maybe the second overall pick to get him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's number one. I mean, if I got the first pick or even the second pick, and I got lucky enough, I'm taking him. I mean, it's going to set your whole lineup up, your whole team up. Stolen bases, home runs, average, everything.
Definitely.
And then my next guy on my list here is maybe a newcomer to the top of the outfield list, and that's Austin Meadows. I have him on here for multiple reasons. One reason being he's a young player, does a little bit of everything. He's on a good Rays team. Also, we like I said, we want to split the list up a little bit, so not just one guy has all the top guys, and my list is all top guys, and yours the next guys. So, split it up a little bit. But Austin Meadows is a real good player, 300 hitter, home runs, steal some bases, So, and a good team. So, it's a guy I'm definitely going to look at towards the top of, my outfield rankings. The next guy on my list, who I've had multiple times, is Charlie Blackmon.
Oh, yeah.
Another one kind of does a little bit of everything. His outfield defense struggles at times. I don't think it was last year. He made like 2 errors in the same play. And I was like, that's fantastic. But overall, he's gonna hit. He's just gonna drive and runs. He's gonna hit home runs, steal some bases. He's gonna do a little bit of everything. So he's just a great player to have, and obviously another really good offensive team. So,
oh, yeah.
The fourth player on the list is Juan Soto. Obviously he's like 21, 22 years old. I think he's 21.
Yeah.
He was part of the Nationals World Series run there. Great player. Just young guy's only really going to get better.
Yeah.
So it's just the up and up on him. And then my fifth guy, another really young guy, and not really much of an outfielder, but he has outfield eligibility, and that's Yordan Alvarez for the Astros. He doesn't play much outfield. More of a DH kind of guy, but I mean, that guy can hit the ball.
Oh, yeah.
Carlos Delgado Jr., that I call him, because he looks just like Carlos Delgado. Same stance, same kind of slow walk to the batter's box, and just kind of gets up there. Here I am, bang.
Yeah.
500 feet, doesn't matter. But he's a real good a real good player, hitter, I should say. He's just going to hit like 40, 50 home runs in a normal season.
Yeah.
Driving a bunch of runs in that lineup, and probably be 3-4 hitter.
Yeah.
In an Astros lineup that's 6-7 players deep.
Mm.
So just has a chance to drive a lot of runs and hit a lot of home runs. So that's why I got him up there.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, Yordan Alvarez is definitely someone that if I get the chance, I'm definitely taking him. And obviously, top of your list, Mike Trout. I mean, that should be everyone's top objective is to get that first pick.
Yeah.
But so for my top 5, I've got a lot of star power, and just the whole outfield lists are going to be star power. But the number one guy I got is Ronald Acuna Jr. I mean, what can you really say about him? It's kind of like similar to Trout, where it's like the guy can just really do everything: steal, hit home runs, hit for average. He can just do everything. So if I get a closer to the top pick and Trout's already gone and there's some outfielders I could take, I'll probably take Acuna. Right after him, one of the best hitters in the league, Christian Yelich, at least one of the best hitters in the league right now. You got to be a little wary. I think he's got that back problem. You got to be a little wary with that. But for now, I mean, the dude just hits and hits and hits. He just doesn't stop. Power, hit for average, everything, and he's got speed. Then after that, I got Cody Bellinger. We left him last episode. Left him off the list for first baseman just because we figured probably a little bit more of an outfield guy. He's one of the stars of the game, obviously, and he's a great hitter. I'm not 100% sold on him just because he's a little wishy-washy with his stats, a little hot and cold. I think that when he's at his best, he's one of the best hitters in the league. When he's cold, he's cold. So,
Yeah, and you can see with him, 2 years ago, the whole year he really didn't do much.
Exactly.
The playoffs came, he was even sitting in some of the playoff games. And then last year, second half of the season, he wasn't really quite the player he was. So, he's a guy that it's hard to take like as your number one outfielder, or like one of your number, maybe not your number one outfielder, but your number one player on your team.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know what you're gonna consistently get out of him. But I mean, if he plays like he can, yeah, he's definitely could be first top pick.
Oh yeah.
So.
Well, that's the thing is I'm not really 100% sold on him. So it's like he's towards the top when he's right.
Yeah.
After that though, new teammate of his, Mookie Betts. He's another guy. What else is there to say about Mookie Betts? Great hitter, a lot of speed, great defender.
Contract year.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be a big year for him. That Dodgers lineup is deep. He'll get a lot of playing time, see a lot of good pitches, I'm sure. So Mookie Betts, he's a great player. Then for my round out my top 5, I got Bryce Harper for the Phillies. He's another guy kind of like Bellinger, up and down. You kind of sometimes don't really know what you're going to get out of him, but you can bet, like I said with Bellinger, when he's hot and he's right, he's an MVP guy. But when he's cold, he could bat like 200.
Yeah.
So another guy though, he's got speed, power. When he wants to, he can hit for average, and he can field. So what more do you want from a guy?
Sure.
But that's my top 5.
Obviously they're some of the top players in all of baseball, not just out of the outfield.
Yeah.
But so continuing my my next 5, the next guy I got on my list is Tommy Pham.
Great player.
I had him, I think, a couple years ago when he was with the Cardinals, and then got traded to the Rays, I believe. I think I had him that year. Struggled a little bit with the Cardinals, and went to the Rays, and got back to playing at an all-star level.
Yeah.
But steals a bunch of bases, hits home runs, just a little bit of everything. That's what you want to look for with these outfielders. You want a little bit of everything.
Mm.
And he's just a great hitter, great player, and a Padres team that's getting better. So, he's there for the ride,
Oh, yeah.
Next player on my list, another guy to a new team, Starlin Marte.
Oh, yeah.
Recently had some off-field things going on. That's nothing you can do about those things. But, hopefully he gets past those. But a great player when he's on the field.
Oh, yeah.
He steals bases. And again, he's just going to another team with a better lineup. He was with Pittsburgh. They're, not that great. Now he's going to Arizona with Ketel Marte, Nick Ahmed, and Christian Walker, guys like that. So, he's got a chance to be in the middle of the lineup or top of the lineup and really steal bases and score a lot of runs.
Yeah.
Next guy on the list who I had last year, Nick Castellanos.
Yeah.
Going from last year, started with the Tigers, which was terrible. Then went to the Cubs, who was in the hunt. And now this year going to the Reds, who I think is going to be in the hunt and even have a chance to be in the playoffs, and, pretty deep in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
He drives in a lot of runs. He hits a lot of doubles with a smaller stadium, outside Detroit. You see the home runs go up. Just offensively, one of the better hitters. Defensively, average. He's not going to do nothing crazy. He's not going to make a bunch of errors, but he's probably about average. Offensively, though, he's one of the better hitters you're going to see.
Yeah.
Like I said, a lot of doubles, RBIs, home runs. He's just going to hit 280, 290 hitter. And then again, just another team. That's what you really want to look for, what team they're playing for, because he's going to be in the middle of a great lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to have a lot of chances of either getting RBIs or getting knocked in himself.
Yeah.
So he's going to get a lot of chances to be, have a lot of numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, I have Ramon Laureano. Again, defensively, you don't have to worry.
No.
Offensively, all around. Home runs, stolen bases, average. Last year, I don't think people really took notice to him too much. He had some injuries. But if you look at his numbers, he had 20-something home runs or up there, stolen bases. He had high average. So he does, kind of like a 5-tool guy.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little under the radar, especially in that team. He's probably not even a top 3 talked about guy offensively with Olsen, Chapman, Simeon. So he gets kind of, snuck in there, which is good for him. But again, another guy, look at the team.
Yeah.
So he's going to get a lot of chances to be either the top of the order, middle of the order, wherever he's going to hit, he's going to have his chances.
Yeah.
So, and then the last guy I got for this, rounding out my top 10 here, is David Dahl. Now, Mike had him last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think I picked him up the year before for a while. He was a high prospect guy. He finally kind of panned out the last 2 years, kind of started turning the corner, staying healthy. Another one, stolen bases, home runs, high average. good defense. So another all-around guy, young player, great offensive ballpark, great offensive team. So just a lot of chances out there. And he's even at the point now where if the Rockies really wanted to rebuild, you never know. Don't know what the trade's going to look like this year, trade deadline. But if the Rockies really wanted to tear it down, he could be a guy who could get sent out for a lot of prospects or, a ton of value and get to a real contending team, which could even further help his value. But just a really good player. Triples, he does everything. He hits a lot of triples at that stadium. He has a lot of speed. So, a really good player. And a guy who you can even take him a lot higher than this. You could take him in the probably top 6-7 rounds if you really want to.
Oh, yeah.
Because he does everything. Really good player. Just a really good player.
Yeah, last year when I had him, he was actually, considering my whole team, usually how good offensively my team is. He was the most consistent, probably one of the best hitters on the team.
Sure.
100%. And he was probably my top 6, drafted guy. He wasn't like a really high drafted guy. But yeah, David Dahl's a guy that is, I think, underrated, especially in that Rockies lineup.
Sure.
And you mentioned with Nick Castellanos, he's great. I think he's just going to do even better in that Reds lineup. He was kind of, wouldn't say like trapped in Detroit, but he was kind of like kind of forgotten about as a hitter in Detroit, and he really came alive with the Cubs. So, you see with a little bit of a competitive spark in that, that he did better.
Yeah, I think he almost broke the doubles record for the National League last year.
He almost did, yeah.
Something crazy.
His doubles machine.
Especially at Wrigley.
Well,
big
yeah.
gaps and big down lines. You get a lot of chances at doubles. But with Cincinnati, that's going to change. A lot of those doubles are going to turn into home runs, so his numbers are only going to go up, I think.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, with that lineup, he'll do just fine. He's a guy I'm looking at, too. So to start the rest of my top 10 here, the bottom half of my top 10, the first guy I want to talk about is, he's got outfield eligibility. I wouldn't consider him an outfielder, though, JD Martinez for the Red Sox. He's more of a DH, obviously, at this point. He's not...
like Alvarez.
Exactly. But he's got outfield eligibility, so I'll take it, Yeah, JD Martinez, he came from the Astros, and he really wasn't all that much of a star. He was kind of like almost somewhat of a fourth outfielder, and then he came over to the Red Sox, actually, he's been around, but... ever since his time with the Tigers and the Red Sox and stuff, he's been an unbelievable hitter. And, he high average, high home run guy, RBIs. But you're not going to, defensively, you're not going to get much out of him if he does play the field. So that's the only thing to kind of keep an eye on. But as far as offensive stats, he's going to put up numbers, I'm sure. Even at, he's, getting a little older now, but he should be fine. After that, I got George Springer. George Springer's a great hitter, great fielder. That Astros lineup is as deep as they come. So he's going to be just fine. I believe if they put him in the leadoff spot or wherever. Got to keep an eye on him with injuries. Obviously, he has a little bit of a history with that. But overall, he's...
Sign stealing.
Yeah, well, yeah, let's not get into that. Be here all day. No, but George Springer's a great hitter, great fielder. I wouldn't mind having him on my team at all. After that, I got Aaron Judge, who... like the top guys, really needs no introduction or more time spent on how good he is in the field and how much power he's got. But another guy, he's got to stay healthy at this point. He's kind of got to prove himself now to show what he did like in his rookie season. After that, another guy in the same vein on the same team, his teammate Giancarlo Stanton. That dude can hit 60 home runs in a season when he's healthy and when he's right. But he's got to stay healthy, got to stay in the field, got to be productive. He's a guy, he'll give you pretty good defense. I don't think he'll make too many errors, but it's the offensive stats you get. You're not really drafting Stanton for his defense.
No.
Then to round out my top 10, I got Eloy Jimenez for the White Sox. Big power bat in the middle of that at this point, I guess you could call a stacked White Sox lineup. That lineup's pretty good now. So he's going to put up home runs. He's going to probably hit for average. He's a nice guy. If you can catch him maybe a little later in the draft, not too much later in the draft, but a little bit down the line, I think could be one of your best outfielders for sure. And he's at the bottom of my top 10, so it's really something to say about the outfielders,
Yeah, his defense is a little bit, shaky.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
Offensively, the guy crushed the ball. He can run a little bit. He's going to be a 260, 270 hitter maybe, but he might hit 40-something home runs in a normal year,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, all around they got pretty good, that's a pretty good top 10,
Oh, yeah.
With JD Martinez and George Springer, guys like that. Yeah, once you get past that top 5, start getting more into the top 10, and then even our next 5 or top 15, a lot of these guys are real good players. There's some sort of question mark around them, or some sort of thing that makes you think, well, what is this, or they got this. Your top 5 ones are just they're kind of usually set in stone.
Yeah.
There's not much to worry about there.
No.
So, but like I said, to go into our next our last 5 here, or to finish off our top 15, my next guy on the list would be Marcell Ozuna.
Great player.
I've always liked him. Young guy. He hits 260, 270. He could really hit a lot of home runs. He could be the top of the NL home run leaderboard. Last year I thought he was going to be. I had him a chance to go for the MVP before the season.
Yeah.
With the Cardinals coming on a contract year or stuff like that. A few injuries, he broke his finger or broke 2 fingers on his hand or something like that.
Yeah.
That really slowed him down, but he did have a lot of home runs still. So it's a guy I always kept an eye on, but like I said, a couple injuries and stuff like that. And now he's going to the Braves, which has got a really good lineup. You just don't know if he's going to get more rest days and stuff like that. So you just got to watch that. Yeah. But overall, the guy's a great hitter.
Oh, yeah.
Next one on my list is Michael Brantley. And he's just like a real hitter. All-around real hitter.
Yeah.
No shift against him. Go to left field, center field, right field. He's got power. Not going to steal much bases, Outfield-wise, he's a little bit above average. He made that one play, the World Series, or in the playoffs against the Yankees.
Yep.
The guy can make some good plays, but all around, he's just a little bit above average. You put him out there, you don't really have to worry about too much. But hitting-wise, he could be a guy who bats 320, something like that. Hits 20 home runs.
Oh, yeah.
So he's, great hitter and great guy to have on your team.
Definitely.
The next guy on my list is Joey Gallo. And the reason I have him probably this far down is because he's a guy I kind of avoid a little bit because he really could bat 200. That's the thing. He really easily could bat 200, strike out like 300 times, but hit 40 home runs.
Yeah.
So it's like you know exactly what you're going to get. It's either a home run or nothing or a walk.
Yeah.
So I kind of keep him down. Last year he did make some adjustments. It was up to 250 or so, but he had an injury last year, so you just got to keep an eye on that kind of stuff because you don't want a guy that's going to be hurt and only hit home runs and stuff like that. So you just got to watch. But multiple position eligibility for the most part, and hitting the chance to hit 40, 50 home runs. It's hard to pass up. Just if he's going to only bat 200, it's hard to take him in the top 5 or 10 outfielders.
Yeah.
But still a good player.
Oh yeah.
Next guy on my list, who I've had multiple times, and that's David Peralta.
Yeah.
I had him last year. He was doing great. Hurt his shoulder. Never really came back the same. Couldn't really hit the home runs. Couldn't really drive the ball into the gaps. But, he still had a good year, all in all. For having the injuries and stuff like that, he still had a pretty good year. I had him on my team. I put him out there. And I was like, you know what? He's still going to be all right. He's not the top guy. Top outfielder. One of the top outfielders. Like, I drafted him. But he still put up decent numbers. I was like, okay. I don't have to worry about too much. It wasn't like, I got to drop this guy. He's killing me. I could put him out there. But all right. But yeah, when he's healthy, he's gonna hit home runs. He's gonna hit doubles. He's gonna drive and run. Especially that lineup's getting better. Just a really good player. And then the last guy in my top 15 is Brian Reynolds for the Pirates. We kind of mentioned him last week because they have like 4 guys that are the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, last year at one point he was batting like 330 something late in the season.
Yeah.
I think he ended up batting like 315 on the year. Hit some home runs, steal some bases, but just a really good hitter. Just that that base hit guy, that ball in the gap kind of guy, Jeff McNeil kind of, LeMahieu kind of hitter, and young.
Yeah.
So you give him a couple of years, he can really round out into one of those guys who are gonna just be a 320 hitter all the time and just kind of go about his business, and that's what he does.
Yeah.
So his one thing is that Pirates team, you don't know what you're gonna get, but the top of the order, that Pirates team could be pretty decent, so he's gonna be in the top of it. So, he should be on the better part of that lineup so he can still get some runs and RBIs. But average-wise, he's going to be 300, 320. He's, good chance. So,
yeah.
Really good player.
Yeah, he's really good. I think he quietly had a really good year, too. I don't think really many people paid much attention to even that whole Pirates lineup. They just for the most part, a lot of those guys hit really well. You can almost put him in a sleeper list, because he probably will fall really far in the draft. People don't even know who he is. Yeah. They see Pirates player, and they're like,
Yeah.
Yeah, just even the last 5 of your outfield list is still guys that are really, like David Peralta, really viable guy. Like we always say, you got to watch out for guys with injury problems, but, I wouldn't call him like an Aaron Judge type injury problem at this point,
No.
So the last 5 that I've got, the first guy that I want to talk about is Eddie Rosario for the Twins. At this point, who can you talk about in the Twins lineup that doesn't hit really good, have a lot of RBIs or home runs or whatever? Eddie Rosario had a lot of RBIs last year. I think he had over 30 home runs, hit for a pretty good average. I mean, I don't even know where you can slot some of these guys in the Twins lineup at this point. I don't know what the Twins lineup will look like, but you could probably guarantee that he's going to hit really well. And like I said, have a lot of RBIs again because it seems like everyone's going to be on base. So the team in general is going to put up a lot of runs. So he'll be a big part of that. Next, I want to talk about Jorge Soler for the Royals. The reason he's a little lower, even though he did have a pretty unbelievable offensive year last year, the reason I want to talk about him so low is that he is not really proven yet. I mean, he really had a really good breakout season. He's a guy I know has kind of been on your radar for a while. I know you liked Jorge Soler, but he really hit well last season. So a guy to just keep an eye on because he did do that last season, but I wouldn't consider him like a top 10 guy in my list as not right now. We'll see what he does next season, or this season coming up, I should say. After that, I got Andrew Benintendi for the Red Sox. The Red Sox still got a really potent lineup. I think that they're not like quite what they were, but they still do have a good lineup. You know, Benintendi, JD Martinez, and Rafael Devers, and Bogarts, and all these guys. But Benintendi is a guy that really hasn't shown his potential. I think that he was a really high prospect, and he hasn't really, really broken out like he could yet. And that's the reason I kind of got him a little lower, is that he's still a guy to watch. He still can put up good numbers, but you're waiting on that one big year he has. So we'll see what that kind of like how Devers did. After that, I got Michael Conforto for the Mets. Michael Conforto has proven since he's come up that he can hit. Defensively, I'm not really sure where he falls. I don't think of him as a defensive guy when I first think of Michael Conforto, so that might speak to his defensive prowess. But as far as a hitter, he's a pretty elite hitter. It's the Mets, so you always got to worry about injury problems with him and anyone else in that lineup. But Michael Conforto has been pretty consistent, I'd say, considering as the Mets as a whole, he's been pretty consistent. I'd say you could probably bet on him maybe even a little better than Alonso, because Alonso's only had the 1 year. So you might be able to, there might be something to say for Conforto in that regard. And then to round out my list, my top 15, I want to talk about Max Kepler for the Twins. Kind of similar to Eddie Rosario before, just who knows where Max Kepler will fall in that lineup. You could bat him leadoff, you could bat him towards the bottom, you could bat him ninth, have a second leadoff guy. But he's a guy, I think he hit like 30 home runs last season too. I mean, that whole lineup just had home runs. Even a guy like Max Kepler, who you don't really think of as a power guy. But similar, like I said, to Eddie Rosario, will probably hit for a pretty good average, have his home runs, almost certainly have RBIs unless he's the pegged as the leadoff guy. He'll obviously have less, you would think. But I mean, if you're talking about guys that fall a little later in the draft, maybe you need a second outfielder, third outfielder in your starting lineup. I mean, Max Kepler's going to do just fine. I think that, and you can pick anyone in that Twins lineup, and they're going to do just fine. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, like you said, a lot of those guys, I mean, they're real good players. Just a few of them are going to have some sort of question mark or something in the back of your head that's making you not take them in the top 10 or top 5 of your outfielders, or even in the top 5 or 6 rounds of your draft. But I mean, they could easily be up there. I mean, Jorge Soler almost hit 50 home runs.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So I mean, you can take them up towards the top. I mean, you take Max Kepler because he's going to steal some bases. I mean, you could take any of those guys, and you shouldn't really have to worry too much. You just don't know if you're going to get a year closer to last year or a year closer to 2 years ago. So that's what you just got to watch for some of those guys, especially the young guys.
Yeah, definitely.
But so after we get through the top 15 there, we can get into some of the sleeper guys. And my first sleeper guy is Nick Markakis. And he's just a great player. A veteran guy, doesn't say too much, doesn't cause no problems. He just hits. He's been just about a 280, 290 hitter, 10, 15 home runs, doesn't really steal many bases. Defense is one of the best defensive outfielders in the league. But just a veteran guy who gets his at-bats, gets his hits, drives in some runs, and just a really good player. So you can have him on your team. He could be one of your bench outfielders. He could be your third starting outfielder, and you're just fine with him. You just don't know where to draft him.
Yeah.
That's where I was last year with him. I loved Nick Markakis. I got his autograph and stuff like that. I think he's a great player. I think he has a shot at being 3,000 hits, Hall of Fame guy. You just don't know where to draft him.
Yeah.
Especially with the Braves, they have a deeper lineup. He might get some more rest days. You got a guy like Enciarte, Austin Riley. You got a bunch of guys. You just don't know how much time he's going to get. Yeah. You just got to watch. But this guy is going to bat almost 300, if not 300.
Yeah, you can bet on that, yeah.
Yeah. So the next guy I got here on my sleeper list is Harrison Bader. I drafted him last year towards middle to the end of the draft. I think I was a year early on him, though, on his breakout because he struggled average-wise. Defense, he's one of the best. Again, top defensive outfielder. Could steal bases, has some power. His average was down last year. He got sent down for a little while. But his breakout year is coming.
Yeah.
It's either this year or next year. One of these years he's going to be, really turn the corner offensively and he's going to put it all together.
I agree.
So, next one on my sleeper list is another Cardinals outfielder, and that's Tyler O'Neill. Came up, he has another one. Super power, super speed, could be an all-around player. So we'll see. I mean, last year he played well last year. He had some good numbers last year.
Quietly.
So when when this year finally starts, he's a guy in that lineup. He's probably going to be in the middle of the lineup with Goldschmidt and guys like that and Paul DeJong. He's got a chance to drive in a lot of runs, steal some bases, hit some home runs. So he's got a really great opportunity to really put up some good numbers and really make his mark here in fantasy and be a top fantasy guy for years to come.
Yeah.
Next one I have is Austin Hayes for the Orioles. He came up and only played a little bit last year, but in that short period of time, I think it was like 70, 80 at bats, whatever it was. He batted good, 270. Played great defense, had that one great catch.
Yep.
And he's going to be at the top of the lineup for the Orioles. He's probably going to be their leadoff hitter.
Yeah.
Or second hitter or whatever they're going to do with him, but he's going to be at the top of the lineup. So he's going to have, some chances at a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But just a good player and a guy who can really help turn the Orioles around in the years to come. So,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Next one, I have Nick Senzel. I have him on my team last year. He's definitely got some injury concerns. All year he was kind of day-to-day, and even 2 years ago, whatever, in the minors, he was kind of day-to-day, an injury, he missing broken wrist or sprained wrist, whatever he had the one time, and he's always just kind of day-to-day, crashing into the wall. But he's a great player, steals bases, 260 average, whatever, hits some home runs, great lineup, like I said, with the Reds. So he's a good player. You just got to watch the injuries. That's kind of why he's more a sleeper. And last year was his first year, so can he kind of replicate some of his numbers?
Yeah.
But he was a top prospect at one point. There's a guy who could really shoot up and get to 300 and have some really good numbers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Next one I have is Justin Upton. Of course, we talked about him before. A guy who had a lot of injuries last year. He's going to bounce back this year. Angels lineup got better. Guy could hit 30 home runs, steal you some bases, 260, 270 hitter. But just a veteran guy who really has a chance to bounce back, like I said, and be, we mentioned him as bounce back player of the year or comeback player of the year. He can hit 30 home runs. So if you can get a guy late in the draft, be your fourth outfielder or utility guy, whatever you want to do with him, who's going to hit, has a chance at 30 home runs in a normal season, I mean, why wouldn't you get him?
Yeah.
So I always like Justin Upton.
Yeah, we both do.
Can't really go wrong with Justin Upton.
No.
But some injuries, mostly in his last couple of years.
Yeah.
But and the next one I have on my sleeper list is Osvaldo Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
Can't seem to find a team, a true team. Little Miggy, they called him years ago. But really good hitter. What's he, like 280, 290 hitter, 300,
Yeah.
20 home runs, steals bases. I mean, he does a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't seem to really find a team. Tigers kind of got rid of him, and then he was in the White Sox. They kind of got rid of him, with the Rays. So I'm like, where is he? Where does he fit in?
Yeah.
But now he's with the Brewers, and a team that's got, Yelich and Lorenzo Cain and some of those guys in the middle of that order. So he should be, got a chance of putting up some numbers. But he's just a guy who does a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit of everything. Home runs, speed, average. Just doesn't get really any recognition.
Yeah.
But the guy really can play. So if you get him on your team, I mean, you can't go wrong with him.
Yeah.
Especially as maybe a third outfielder or backup outfielder or something, and even a trade piece in fantasy.
Yeah. He quietly has good years all the time.
Yeah. Just can't find a home.
Yeah.
Can't find a team that's like, oh, yeah, we'll keep you. It's always like, thanks, but see you later.
Yeah. I don't know why either. All right. Well, those. I mean, talk about sleeper picks. I mean, when you think of those names, they're good, but they fall in because how much talent is in the outfield for fantasy. They fall a little bit to maybe your third guy that you pick for, I need another outfielder, or, I need a backup guy, or, maybe this guy could be a utility guy for me. But those are all, I mean, great players. I mean, again, some of them have question marks, obviously. A lot of these guys we talk about close to the bottom, but generally a lot of like you said with the Osvaldo Garcia, he's almost a guy you could set and forget. So to move on to my sleeper guys I want to talk about. The first guy I want to talk about, it's hard to even call him a sleeper at this point, but after he kind of missed a full season, Andrew McCutchen. I mean, he's a former All-Star, former, cover athlete, former, one of the best players in the league. And, obviously he's getting older, age happens, and he's not quite the player that he was, but I think that people kind of forget that he's over there with the Phillies and he's in that pretty good lineup, and he's he'll put up good numbers towards the top of the lineup. He's still got a lot of value in the outfield. He's still got a lot of value at the plate, and I think that people, especially, people get hurt, and if they're out for a full season, sometimes they tend to be a little forgotten. Kind of Salvador Perez, similar situation with him going on. Yeah. This guy, Andrew McCutchen, can still play, so look for him if you need a, fill in a last guy or bench guy or something like that. After that, I want to talk about Mark Kanya for the A's. Mm-hmm. I had him last year, and he just quietly just produced. I mean, he didn't have any numbers that really jumped out at you or nothing, but I mean, in that good A's lineup, I mean, he fills in pretty nicely in the outfield. You don't even think of him necessarily as sometimes a quintessential outfield guy.
Yeah, I think he had about 26 home runs or 25 home runs or something like that, and I think he has first base eligibility as well.
Exactly, yeah.
So, but really good player, and a team had forgotten, like Liriano kind of. You're not really going to talk about Mark Canha at all.
No.
But when he's out there hitting home runs, 25, 26 home runs, stealing some bases, batting 270, you're going to say, jeez, who has him?
Yeah.
You're going to look in your fantasy list and you're going to say, who has this guy? No one has him. No one has him. I'm going to go pick him up. And then you look and this guy has him and you're like, that's why he's got 7 wins in the first 10 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I picked him off free agency. I'm like, I can't believe no one has him. I'll take him. Yeah. After that, Alex Verdugo. For the Red Sox now. I've talked about him a little bit in previous episodes. I think that if he stays healthy, and I think that if he's in that Red Sox lineup consistently, like I said, staying healthy, I think he's going to be just fine. He's no Mookie Betts. He's no Mookie Betts replacement. I think people need to kind of get that out of their mind. But in the outfield, I mean, he'll do just fine. He's a pretty good fielder. He can hit for some power. He's got some speed. He could hit for average for sure. But like I said, the big question with him is staying healthy. And I think if he does that, I think he'll be just fine. I don't think he's going to wow you or anything, but I think in that big lineup, he'll fit in, he'll slot in nicely.
Yeah, I mean, if he can learn how to use the monster to his advantage, like a lot of left-handed players in the past, his numbers could shoot up drastically. So if he can just kind of serve that ball over there, like 7 feet and hit off the monster for his double or whatever, then he could be really good, with some speed and some power. Just some injury concerns. I think he already had back surgery as a young guy, so it's like you kind of got to watch.
Yeah.
Especially back injuries, knee injuries, it just gets a little scary.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's a good point, bringing up the monster. I mean, you hit it about 2 feet in the outfield and you got a double. Yeah. So, and after that, I want to talk about another guy in the AL East, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. for the Blue Jays. I think that when he's really playing well, I think he got a little hurt at the end of last year. I think he had maybe some leg issues. I forget what it was because I did have him on my team for just for a hot second. He could be a top 3 hitter in the Blue Jays lineup at this point. Obviously he's sitting there with Vlad Jr. and Kevin Biggio and these guys, Bo Bichette. He could be a top 3 hitter, and I think quietly he does that because he's almost not lives in the shadow. But when you think of the Gurriels, you think of Yuli Gurriel with the Astros because you've got that big personality in that ridiculous Astros lineup. You think of him first, but you got to forget that Lourdes Gurriel's over there and he's hitting pretty good. He hit pretty well last season,
arguably better.
Yeah, I would probably
all
argue.
around too.
Yeah, exactly. He hits for average, hits for power, drives and runs. So he's a good player. After that, Mikey Yastrzemski, another guy that comes from a real good bloodline with the Yastrzemski family. But he's over there in San Francisco, and he's got a lot of talent. I believe he hit 20 home runs last season. Had a pretty good average, like 260, 270 in that general area. People forget about him because that Giants team is kind of, they're on the decline for sure. You still got Posey and Longoria and Brandon Belt, but Yastrzemski kind of gets forgotten about out there, and he's a pretty good hitter. I mean, a young guy too. So I mean, you could see him start to really kind of break out here and have a really good season, especially in that big ballpark at triples and doubles like crazy.
Sure.
Obviously the home runs aren't going to be as high, but get the extra base hits you can still get.
Sure.
Then after that, Kevin Pillar for the Red Sox. I think he's a little bit of an underrated player. I think people talk about his defense a lot and how much range he covers, and kind of similar to Kevin Kiermaier, who you talk about his defense. Obviously, Kevin Pillar is a better hitter than Kevin Kiermaier, in my opinion. Kevin Pillar could put up, he could probably hit 20 home runs. Now with the Red Sox, he could put up a lot of doubles off that monster and big, big center field they've got there, and so I think he'll be fine. I think that his defense is obviously something to talk about. But you can't forget about his bat either. Somewhere maybe he could fit in the top of the lineup, or maybe down towards the bottom.
Sure.
He could fit in nicely. After that, the final guy I want to talk about is Stephen Piscotty for the A's. Another guy that just kind of seems to get forgotten about in that lineup. I don't know how much that lineup is so deep at this point. I don't know how much he'll slot in or where he'll slot in, but with a guy with his talent, I'm sure he shouldn't have a problem finding playing time. He could hit like 270, he could hit you like 20 some home runs, driving some runs. He's got good defense, maybe above average defense, just around average. So he's another guy that towards the end of the draft, he could be a backup guy, he could be a utility guy. I usually find him in free agency somehow. I always seem to find him. He always ends up on my team. But I always like Stephen Piscotty, and obviously that story with him hitting the home run with his mom is another reason to like the guy. So even if it's just for that reason you like the guy, maybe someone to think about picking up. But yeah, those are my 7 sleeper guys. I mean, talk about when I look at the names here. I mean, talk about sleepers. You they don't jump out at you right away.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of outfielders. There's a lot of good outfielders, especially fantasy purposes. That's why when we mentioned earlier episodes, fantasy outfield, obviously you want to get some good ones. But if you do make some mistakes or some injuries, you could definitely go through free agency and go get an outfielder that can, really make a huge impact on your team compared to catcher.
Yeah.
Where there's only like 6, 7 catchers out there you can get, so you kind of miss that, you miss. That's it. You're done.
Yep.
Second basemen too. You can get guys who play second, but they get that actual second baseman you don't have to worry about. It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
So outfield, you can kind of figure it out. Pitching too, kind of figure it out. Closers you can't. Can't really get closers.
No.
Or starters and really, just set up guys. You can kind of figure that out.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, outfield's so deep. I mean, there's guys. Aaron Hicks we didn't mention.
Yeah.
Another guy, he's coming off his injury, but with the season pushed back, he really might not miss much time at all.
No.
Switch hitter, a great lineup, great offensive ballpark. Another guy, he could be just put up some really good numbers on your fantasy team.
Yeah.
You get guys like Adam Eaton, Byron Buxton, Lorenzo Cain, Kyle Schwarber, if there's universal DH. Takes him out of the outfield because he doesn't belong out there.
No.
You got Hunter Renfroe.
Mm-hmm.
Hits like 40-something home runs and gets like 50 hits, but like 40 of them are home runs. Oscar Mercado for the Indians does a little bit of everything. Cespedes, especially with the universal DH. That would play huge for them because he doesn't want to do anything other than hit and get money. So you give him just a chance to just swing the bat, take him out of the outfield because he'll get hurt.
Yeah.
He's hurt all the time now.
Yeah.
So you take him out of that and just let him hit. There you go.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about it. Just let him hit. Just let him stay healthy.
It's one thing you can do, yeah.
Yeah. and another guy, too, I was going to mention before, but Danny Santana for the Rangers. Plays everywhere.
Yeah.
He has like every position eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
He batted like 280-something last year, 20-something home runs, stolen bases. He did everything, and no one even cared.
Yep.
No one even talked about it. I don't think he was even really on a fantasy team for ours much last year until maybe towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
I think my brother or one of those guys got him, and he was one of their best players.
Yeah.
But it's like you didn't want to pick him up almost.
Mm-hmm.
But once you picked him up, you knew he was going to be one of your best players. He was like a weird. You're like, what's he going to do? Is he going to keep doing it? I don't know. You pick him up, and you're like, why didn't I have him the whole year?
Yeah.
I got Liam Hendricks last year after the All-Star break. Nobody had Liam Hendricks.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll take him.
I picked him up, but I looked at him for days.
Mm.
Like, I don't know. And I'm like, finally, I'll just take him. Wade Davis, so I had to get rid of that. So I got Liam Hendricks, But that's what some of these guys are. It's almost like you don't want to draft them, or you don't know where to draft them, or you don't really feel the need to pick them up.
Mm.
But once you pick them up, they're like one of your better players. Their stats make sense. So there's a lot of weird players like that, especially in the outfield. But I mean, just these lists are so deep. You can get some of these guys who just can crush the ball, steal bases, whatever. Malcolm Smith, another one. You want to steal bases? There you go. There's 40 of them.
Mm.
You can just play full time.
Yeah.
Mitch Haniger, guy he can stay healthy, super talented guy.
Oh yeah.
Trey Mancini, if he gets healthy, he's dealt with his cancer. He's dealt with he has cancer and he's fighting that and doing well. But if he could find his way back on the field this year, another great player. So I mean, there's so many players, just so many stories. What do you want to deal with? Do you want to deal with injury concerns? What can you handle? But there's a lot of outfielders. It's just such a deep position.
Yeah.
Free agency is key for the outfield.
Yeah. I mean, look, we talked about the top 50. I mean, just about, right? I mean, with the players you mentioned, between the sleepers, each of our top 15s, it's got to be top 50 outfielders, and they're all, at least most of them, are viable, completely worthwhile on your team.
Sure,
You
I
know,
mean,
it's somewhere.
There's a million of them.
Yeah.
And you keep going. Victor Robles. I mean, there's
Yeah,
so
we
many.
didn't even mention him.
There's so many outfielders. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, but if you hit on a couple of these top guys, and then you hit one free agent or one sleeper outfielder, I mean, you really set your team up to win.
Oh, yeah.
So, outfield is definitely important, but you could definitely, mix and match to figure it out.
Yeah.
So it's that weird situation with the outfield fantasy, but definitely where you see your most, versatility as a manager or owner of a team, whatever you want to call yourself, or coach, or whatever you want to call yourself.
Yeah.
Guys can really make those moves and really switch the utility guys in and out and use position eligibility to their maximum, and really pick up outfielders and pick up pitchers and stuff like that. Those are the guys who really they're hard to beat in fantasy.
Yeah.
And they're good every year.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who doesn't really know free agency or can't really find his way around trades or find value in players, they kind of struggle at times.
Yeah.
But guy who could just kind of always mix and match, those are the guys who are really good at fantasy, especially our league, the way our league's set up.
Yeah.
So should be fun. Hopefully our draft can get we can get our draft in about 2 weeks. And that'd be fun to talk about. We'll go in depth episode about our whole fantasy draft, our whole fantasy league. So that should be fun.
Yeah. We'll do maybe like a quote unquote like bonus episode, like a 4th episode of fantasy in the series, and we'll talk about how our teams are looking, how we think other teams are looking, how the draft went, all that stuff. But
we could break down everyone's team just about. Quick dive into everybody's team and where we think they're going to be.
Yeah.
So that should be fun. Just hopefully we can get some word on baseball. Hopefully tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we can kind of get some answers here. And once we get kind of an agreement towards baseball, my fantasy draft's going. I mean, got a draft date for 2 weeks from now. So hopefully we have something. We get this draft and get baseball back.
Yeah.
With the weather turning and everything, we can finally get something to see on TV.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, obviously, like we've said before in other episodes, we record on Mondays. So before you get into the trivia question, obviously, we don't know yet. Tomorrow's Tuesday the 26th, and we'll see. There's going to be an official economic proposal, quote unquote, for the league.
An updated proposal for what they're going to do with salaries and revenue sharing and stuff like that.
Yeah. So when this episode goes live, we have no information on that. Like we've said in the past, if there's something suddenly happens and we get an announcement of the league or whatever we hear, we'll do some sort of maybe like quote unquote emergency episode, and we'll just do something quick to talk about it. But for now, when this episode goes up, when we're recording it, we have no idea what's up with that. And obviously, it's the 25th. It's Memorial Day, so we want to wish everyone a belated Happy Memorial Day. And I hope you're staying safe out there and having a good time with your family or whatever you're doing out there. But we want to wish Happy Memorial Day.
Sure. Yeah, and like you said, we record on Monday, so it's Memorial Day. So like you said, you wish everybody Happy Memorial Day, and thank all the people overseas and previous, military and veterans and stuff like that who sacrificed and paid the ultimate sacrifice, so we can be here doing this.
Yeah.
And talking about baseball. Now we just need to finish the fight to get baseball back on TV and getting back played, and we can really kind of heal ourselves from this whole pandemic thing we've been going through. But we're almost there. We're almost there.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're not far.
And it'd be big for baseball too to be the first sport back. It'd be a huge well, I mean, obviously other than NASCAR's back. We can't forget about that.
The main four.
The main four.
The big four.
Yeah, it would be humongous for baseball if they could really say, "Hey, we're doing this. We're coming back. You're gonna have sports soon." If they could be the first ones to do that, I think it'd be a big boost for baseball. I think it'd be awesome for them, for the MLB.
I think it's been big for NASCAR to be back. Back first, and even UFC's been back and stuff like that. So it's big.
Yeah,
and we're right there.
Mm-hmm.
We're not far.
Yeah, let's not mess it up.
Yeah.
So let's keep going.
Yeah. So, but to close out our episode, we'll go with our weekly trivia question. This one's a good one.
It is a good one.
This is a good one. So this week's trivia question is on this day, which is May 25th, in 1935, Babe Ruth hit his final 3 home runs of his career. He is one of 4 players in MLB history to have a 3 home run game at 40 years old or older. Who are the other 3? So, of course, it's Babe Ruth, because,
Yeah, why not?
every trivia question, every list, whatever you want to think about, it's Babe Ruth. Pitching, hitting, postseason, it doesn't matter. But the other 3 guys are Stan Musial, Reggie Jackson, and good old Mike's favorite player, Jason Giambi.
good.
Yeah. So that's those are some every era kind of touch there.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, three of them are Hall of Famers. One of them is the greatest player to ever play. Second one's one of the greatest players ever play.
Yep.
And then you got Reggie. I mean, fantastic player for his period.
Yeah, legend.
Yeah. And then you got a goofball down there, who had a really good career.
Yeah.
You know, some off-field issues and stuff like that, but still respect the guy. So I mean, it's a great list there.
Yeah, I wasn't able to guess Stan the Man. I guessed the other two when you first proposed the question to me, but I couldn't. I always forget about Stan Musial for some reason. He was really dominant in his era too.
Yeah. I believe he had another thing on Stan Musial. I think he had the same average on the road in his career that he did at home.
That sounds about right for him.
I believe he had the same batting average. I believe, which is ridiculous. He's ridiculous. Some of his stats are. Some of his facts and stats and stuff like that are crazy, but yeah, that's our trivia question for the week.
Yeah. All right. Well, unless there's any other outfielders you feel like you forgot or anything else of fantasy you want to talk about real quick.
That's pretty much it for me.
All right. Well then, until next week, you can follow me on Twitter at Real Mike Lepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at FTubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Facebook at ScrewballPod, no E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Take care.